Hi, I'm Janine, and this is Janine Sews. On my channel, I talk about sewing a wardrobe for a woman over 50. Today, I'm going to tell you about this jacket. Earlier this year, I participated in Pattern Review's Sewing Bee. You are given a challenge and you have a limited amount of time to complete the challenge. For the second round of the Sewing Bee, the challenge was to make something from only recycled denim. So you couldn't use any denim that you had that was just fresh yardage. You had to use old jeans, dresses, things like that. You had 1 week for the challenge. So when the challenge was announced, I stopped and thought about what would work well. And the only thing that seemed to make sense to me was something that was pieced. So I dug through my pattern stash and I found this pattern, Islander Sewing Systems Jacket Express. And this is a pattern for a pieced jean jacket. So I got this pattern a couple of years ago when I bought Janet Prey's Craftsy Class. I think it's called Sew Better, Sew Faster. And Janet Prey teaches techniques that are used in the garment sewing industry so you can sew things quickly. I'd been to a couple of her classes, so her in-person classes, and I decided to buy the Craftsy Class because who doesn't want to sew faster? Well, I'm not sure if I want to sew faster. But when I got the class and I got the pattern, I didn't like the pattern very much, so I just set it aside. But when the challenge was announced and I dug through and I found this pattern and I saw that it had a bunch of pieces, I thought, you know, I'm just going to give it a try and see if I can make this jacket into something that I will wear. So that's what I did. I ran over to Goodwill and I got a couple of pairs of jeans and a denim dress, which was a really great find because it had some big pieces of fabric. Then I came home and I looked at what I had, plus I'd stolen a couple of pairs of my husband's jeans. And I looked at the pattern and I decided to make use of the different types of denim so that I had kind of a color blocked look. So here's the completed jacket. And this does not look exactly like the pattern. I'm going to tell you now what I did that was different. The first thing that I did is I ditched the collar because I do not like the collar on the jacket, my taste. I thought it just looked a little too jean jacket-ish, and I spent a lot of my life wearing jean jackets and I don't necessarily want to wear them again. So I decided to get rid of the collar. Then on the front, there is this nice pocket, and it's supposed to have a breast pocket flap. I decided not to make the flaps for the breast pockets because I thought that it would just draw attention to my bust, and I did not want to do that. Then there's also supposed to be a welt pocket here, and I decided not to add the welt pocket for a couple of reasons. First, it would add bulk, and I didn't want to add bulk. Second, I don't actually know how to sew a welt pocket. Although I had the class, I could have taken the time to learn how to sew the welt pocket by watching the class. But I just wasn't sure I was going to like it, and since I was pressed for time, I thought, you know, I'll learn how to sew a welt pocket another day. For now, I'm just going to leave it off. So I just stitched that shut. Then I added one thing, which was on the side here. This is the waistband from one of the pairs of jeans that I used for this. So I just cut off the waistband and stitched it to close it up. And I got one waistband on each side. And the intent of this is to create an illusion of a waist. And I need all the illusions of waists that I can get. And I also thought that if I lose a few pounds, I can always add another buttonhole and I can take it in just a little bit, cinch it in a bit. As I mentioned, Janet Prey teaches how to sew things efficiently. There was a 4-hour Craftsy class, I think, and I just didn't have time to go through it. So I just used the instruction booklet that comes with the pattern, and the instruction booklet is very good. If you don't take the class, this is actually super helpful. She has you work through sewing the jacket piece by piece, which is a little bit different from how most of us do things. First of all, cut everything out. Then you interface everything. And then you start on one seam. You sew one seam. You press the seam. You serge the seam to finish off the seam allowances. Then you top stitch the one seam. Then you go on to the next seam. So what you wind up with is a beautifully finished garment and top stitching that goes right up to the edges of all of the seams, which is really nice. But in reality, what that means is you set up your machine, and I used a regular poly thread and denim needle for sewing this jacket. You set up the machine with poly thread, you sew the seam, you pull it out, you go and you press it. Then you go over to your serger, if you have a serger, you serge the seam, you press it again, you go back to your machine, you change out the thread to top stitch thread, you top stitch 2 seams, you change out the thread to regular thread, you sew the next seam, and on and on and on. So there were a lot of steps involved. I only realized like 2/3 of the way through that I should have set up my cover stitch for the top stitching. I don't know why I didn't think of that, but at that point I was so far along, and I thought, for consistency's sake, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. And although it was a little bit annoying to make so many changes in the thread in particular, I really liked the outcome. I'm going to show you how the top stitch seams look and what the inside of the jacket looks like. The top stitching is really nice. The way that everything is finished off, I know it's hard to see the black thread on the denim, and this is top stitching thread, it's not regular thread. But you see how everything just finishes up beautifully there at the seams, but you can really see it on the sleeves. How it looks professionally done. The way that she directs you to do top stitching is you place the needle 1 needle width in from the seam, and that's where you do your first line of stitching. Then you do the next line of stitching. I think it was over 1/4 of an inch. But I think it looks really nice. Also, the benefit of doing things the way that she has you do them is the interior looks gorgeous. It's also... So the sewing part took some time, but immediately I knew I was going to like how it turned out. Now, when I was going through to make the changes to the design that I did, I really only needed to change one thing, and that was adding a piece of facing to the back of the neck where I took out the collar. So you've got the facings down the side, around the bottom. So I just had to draft a facing piece for this section here. And then no collar. And I'm so happy I didn't put in the collar. The other interesting design thing that happened was I decided to leave off the breast flaps. Okay, so here on the front, one panel, another panel, and I wound up color blocking it with the black. And this is the breast pocket, sewn as the instructions tell you. And it's got this little cutaway, so it'd be easier for you to get things in there. And there's supposed to be a flap on top. But I just left the flap off, and I think it's really a nice design feature without the flap, because you can see the shape of the pocket, which is an interesting feature. So this is Islander Sewing Systems Jacket Express. I learned a lot from this pattern. There are a lot of great tricks that Janet Prey teaches, even with just the printed pattern instructions. I don't know if I'll ever watch the video for the class. I may not, but I certainly learned several tricks that I'll use again from making this jacket. I think I would make it again maybe in corduroy or maybe a printed twill or something. That might be kind of fun. But if you're looking for a jean jacket that you can make where it's going to be super durable, I'd say definitely take a look at this pattern. A lot of steps, it takes some time to sew, but I think you may be happy with the outcome, because once you take off the collar, it looks like a totally different jacket. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy my videos, I hope you'll subscribe, and I will see you really soon.